We'll see if we can get that going. Ruby.
All right.
Wow,
Hello,
that was
everybody.
great,
Hey,
That was a struggle.
Thank you. Thank you. There we go. That was a struggle. Oh man.
That was a
Thank you.
schlag.
Yeah, I couldn't get my intro video working. Yeah, that was a schlag. That was a schlag.
Yeah. You're doing my stick. You're doing shoppy ass theater.
The book looks great though, man.
Yeah. Vampires.
Thank you,
What's
thank
not to love?
Yeah.
Female vampires. Hey, Fanta.
Yes.
Phantasmagorical in the house.
Fanta. Hello, everybody. Yeah.
This is
Welcome to
Apex,
Apex After
and
Dark.
I'm the co-host.
And this is Devilfly, co-host Devilfly Rex, and our wonderful guest, Tom Tuttle of
Hi, everybody.
7 Amens Before Sundown. Hell.
Yeah.
Hail to you both. Hail to you both.
Yeah,
Hey.
there seems to be yeah, you burped. I caught you. I was in the backstage. I heard you burp.
That's when I logged on.
It
was like Animal House back here.
This is Animal
Hey,
House.
it's Animal House here every day. What's with the flying goggles? You need a scarf with that.
That's
You
my
don't flash.
screen
Sunglasses.
gear, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, it protects your eyes, right?
That's right.
You
From
stream
harmful
on,
UV
dries your
rays.
eyes out.
Exactly.
So Tom, is there a trend, do you think, with Western comics? Because I started working on a Western, and then I started seeing all these Westerns pop up. Have they
There
always
are a
been?
couple popping up. We've got Aaron's Wraith of God series, and Mike Barron had one, the werewolf one.
Yeah, and there's a Kickstarter over there by Jimmy Palmiotti as well. He did one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, there seems to be Westerns
They're
popping
They're like
up everywhere.
mushrooms. They keep popping up.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
I like
So what is that? Is that just, have we been away from the Western too long and there's a renewed interest in it? Do you think?
I'd love to interpret the data that way. I don't know that we necessarily can, but
were you killing it? Last time I looked over, you're well over $4,000 on your campaign.
We're doing great. It's
almost
it's
5K.
only been a little over a week. It was last Friday. We launched on Friday Night Frights. And just the support and the embrace that I've felt from the community has been fantastic. It's been like nothing I've ever experienced. There it is.
Well,
there's our little book right there.
Let me put that in proper perspective for you. It's taken me a year to hit $4,072 today. So
oh wow, okay.
So yeah, you're killing it.
You are killing it.
It's I understand what people mean when something really good happens to them and they say this is humbling. And I always like, how can you be humble? All this good stuff's happening. You should have a swelled head. I get it now. The level of support that I have felt over the past week has been truly humbling, and I thank everyone for their support.
Wonderful Graham Nolan cover that looks a lot like the Sergio Leone.
100%. Yeah,
posters.
that's what I was going for with that cover. Graham gave me, I think, three or four. I can't remember the exact number, but he gave me like 3 to choose from. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, "That's our baby right there." It's Grindhouse. It's 1968 zombie movie from Italy. Grindhouse. It feels like if you were in the auditorium to see this movie, you really got away with something. You got away with something from your mom. You got away with something from the ushers. You really pulled something off if you were sitting in the theater to see a movie.
It's a wonderful use of something you don't see, stylized lettering for one thing, along with strong imagery. So you got the best of both worlds there.
Yeah. Yeah, knocked it out of the park. Knocked it out of the park. We had 2 great covers. I'm putting out 2 versions: a full color Grindhouse edition, and then a black and white line art Till Death Do Us Part edition. The same book, just one's color and one's not. And as I said, Graham just killed it for the cover to the color book, and our own Peter Gilmore did the cover for the Till Death Do Us Part edition.
That's great. Wow.
It's a wonderful cover. It's a little cheeky. I wanted to, communicate to the audience it's okay to have fun with this story, even though it's grim and grisly and horrific, and will make you, question the meaning of life. But you can have fun with it, and that's what the Peter cover is meant to communicate.
So, what age group?
An homage to Freebie and the Bean.
What age group is this kind of geared towards?
Well, I would say definitely older teen, mid to
maybe
older
17 and
yeah,
above.
there are vampires and they do what vampires do. So
yeah.
There is,
but I mean, there's different ways you can depict that. You can have them ripping out the throat, a lot of blood. You could do it in
I
silhouette.
don't know that it's that I would say there's a ton of gore or anything.
Okay.
Obviously, there's West style violence, with guns.
Yeah.
Any explosions like Grindhouse explosions?
I will keep that card to the chest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Touch the sensitive part there.
I'll leave a little something for the reveal.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's okay. Let me walk you through. That's Brawley Bridge. Okay. What that represents to me, because Brawley Bridge is the last landmark before you get to my vampire town, Half a Rock Hill. And for me, Brawley Bridge represents the dividing line between the world, the real world, the world we know, the world where people go down when you shoot them. And on the other side of Brawley Bridge is the world that's off kilter, where wrong things happen.
Oh, wow.
So, Tom, how did this come about? I mean, that you combine a Western and a vampire story.
It came about, this is going to be an even more quizzical answer. It came about from Pulp Fiction. I just graduated law school in the summer of '94, and I was working at our local cinema while I was studying for the bar exam. And Pulp Fiction came out, and everybody who saw Pulp Fiction, who had any dreams of being a writer, went back after watching Pulp Fiction and dusted off their shoot 'em up bang bang scripts.
Right.
And I probably started about 34 scripts that I got like 4 pages in. This was an idea that I had, came to me behind the snack bar. I liked the idea of combining the 2 genres. And what was really attractive to me was this story predates the publication of the Stoker novel. So my hero has no idea what a vampire even is.
Right. Oh, great.
Yeah.
So he kind of has to learn, on the run as he goes and learn, what works and what doesn't. So that was what was attractive to me about that when it hit me. And then I've been telling the story that my first idea, because this is right around the time Kevin Smith was making Clerks for $15,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, hey, I could make this into a movie. And then, the realization hit, well, what the hell do I know about making a movie? It sounds terrible. It sounds like a lot of work. So about maybe 10 years later, I'd already, kind of filed the idea under Forget About it, but I told friends about it. Yeah. I'm at a party with a friend of mine who's deeply stoned at the time. And he tells me, man.
Hey, Hex.
Hey, Hex. Hey.
Oh, hello. He tells me, man, cinema is dead, bro. Okay, it is a dead art form. It is as dead as Dillinger, man. What you want to do with this vampire cowboy thing, bro, is you want to turn it into a video game. Uh-huh. And I was like, yeah, man, that guy knows what he's talking about. But then I realized that I had less idea how to make a video game than I had to make a movie. So it just kind of sat and festered until 2022, 2023, when I was watching a live stream one night, and it hit me. I don't know anything about making a movie. I don't know anything about making a comic book, but after watching live streams for 7 years, I probably picked up a little bit, or how to make a video game. I probably picked up a little bit on how to make a comic book, and because this is the best friggin' community in the world, whatever I don't know, I can ask somebody, and that's what I did.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, this is a good starting point for a comic book that could be later on adapted into a movie. What do you think about it. This has
It's very cinematic. I've got to credit Christian Rossi, an amazing interior artist,
so good.
who is one-stop shopping, pencils, inks, colors, soup to nuts. Christian was your man, and he was terrific to work with, or it still is terrific to work with because we're still finishing up the ending. But it's very lyrical what he does. It looks like cinematic. It looks like a movie. Each panel kind of moves into the next one.
Yeah,
You know, kind of like Cerebus back in the Dave Sim days, where each panel went right into the next one fluidly. You know.
Well, now, Tom, you mentioned a law degree. Did you go into law, and then what kinds of law did you practice?
Well, I'm a general practitioner in a small town. I don't want to talk about my work too much because there's obviously levels of confidentiality there. But I'm in private practice. Private practice.
So immediately that comes to mind. You know law, and you probably could go back and look at and do one of those courtroom drama stories, which is so.
I could.
But now, see, a lot of people don't know the legalities, the different things. A lot of people don't know that the jury actually had more sway over the verdict than the judge back in the 1800s, and that kind of
and to this day, I mean, if it's a jury trial, the jury is the ultimate trier of fact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, you have the option of depending on the type of case you're trying, you have the option of opting for a bench trial or a jury trial, but whichever you choose, that's the trier of fact.
But don't you think the pendulum's kind of swung away from the jury to more toward the judge judicially? Because they're not learned in the.
If it's a judge trial,
you're not learned in the law.
If it's a judge trial, then he is the sole trier of fact. If it's a jury trial, they're the ones who are ultimately responsible for the decision, but the judge does control the proceedings to make sure it's fair and in compliance with the rules of procedure.
Right. Yeah. So you're heavily influenced by Grindhouse and maybe
in this book definitely. I wanted the book to feel, and this is kind of why I wanted to do both the color and the black and white versions, because with the color one, I wanted it to feel like one of those old Grindhouse movies, very washed out colors, very sepia toned. Right. And Christian just nailed it. And the thing that I've been continually impressed by is it didn't occur to me a big chunk of this story happens at night, and so a big chunk of the book, Christian was limited to night colors, a night color palette, and he makes the night scenes just as vibrant as the day scenes. It's really a wonderful thing to see. But then that's what the color was meant to evoke, and then the Till Death Do Us Part edition, I was trying to evoke those old Marvel horror magazines from the early 70s, like Bizarre Adventures and Haunt of Dracula and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Vampire Tales. That was my first Marvel anything was Vampire Tales #5. Love those old Curtis magazines through Marvel. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer to come out with a black and white edition, isn't it? I mean,
and these days there seems to be a real taste for line art editions. Like
I think so.
That seems to be like a what do you call it? Like a perk or a secret perk or a brand new perk, like a mid campaign perk. In a lot of different. There's a real audience for line art.
Well, we've been playing your trailer for this and stuff on my channel.
I got to give all the props in the world to Von Klaus. Let me go through real quick my credits. This is like my Oscar speech, so I don't want to leave anybody out.
You bet.
I initially, when I was kicking the script around, I reached out to Narwhal to look over the script and give me notes, and he was absolutely fantastic. When it was time to launch, I reached to Von Klaus, who I call my Obi-Wan through the process, because he told me. He kind of gave me a good guideline for when's an appropriate time to start sharing images on or to start teasing the book out on Twitter, and when should you be doing this and when should you be doing that. And not only was he my Obi-Wan, but he also came up. He was the first thing that I hired for the book, or that I reached out for the book, was he did my logo. I want to say early last summer he did the logo. And then right before we launched, he did that kick-ass trailer that everybody is talking about. That trailer just blew it through the back wall, man.
So do you, I mean, you know, there's been just some discussion. Do you think a trailer really helps sell a book? I think with yours, it's very effective. I think with Apex's on Film Bat, it's very effective because it tells so much of her backstory that you don't get, you know, on the campaign. I think a trailer definitely grabs your attention.
Well, and I think that given that it's kind of industry standard now in the indie community, I think people expect a trailer, because the first thing I notice whenever you're seeing any stream that's a platform for promoting someone, the very first thing the host asks is, all right, let's pull up your trailer. So I mean, I think it's expected, and I think in this case it absolutely helped sales because it just reaches out and grabs you by the boo-boo and pulls you in.
Well, let's play that trailer then.
Let's play that wonderful.
Get grabbed by the boo-boo, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
That's fantastic. That trailer gives you everything you need to know about the book. It gives you the tone. It gives you an idea what the arc's going to be. He's going to come to town. He's going to be immediately overwhelmed, and then he's got to figure out a way to survive.
Well, Apex had given us a challenge, you know, as far as movies and TV shows, Westerns. But now you got vampires in here too. Do you have any favorite vampire movies?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, that's a little bit easier for me than the Western. My first and like not just first, but first by a long shot would be Todd Browning's 1931 Dracula. I am absolutely in love with that movie. I saw it for the first time, I think when I was 7, when I was 8. It rewired my brain, it conditioned me to expect this. I think every frame of that movie is perfect. I think if you closed your eyes and hit fast forward and then let up at any moment, whatever frame that you're on would make a great print or a great poster for your room. Like the movie is that beautiful. Everybody gets a shout out for that, but 100% the guy at the top of the list has got to be Dwight Fry as Renfield, because that is Renfield's movie.
Many. I mean, Fry died in the mid 40s, and it seemed like when his career was at a high, with all the horror Universal. I don't know how much notice he got back then, but of course he's a legend today.
Right.
And his son's still alive, I think, and still talks about his father. It's either that or his grandson. I can't remember because that was a while back. But
a bunch of us. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think things are going to go in nostalgic with things like Popeye and Zorro and soon to be Doc Savage and things like that coming in public. Steamboat Willie coming into public domain. That retro is, and some of the early talkie movies here pretty soon. We're gonna see in the next decade, I think, a lot of retro.
I hope so, because I worry that and I'm gonna sound like an old man here, which I am, but I worry that the generations after me don't seem to have any real regard for the history of film. When I worked in a video store when I was in school, I would see people come in and they would just go to the new wall, and they would go to the new wall and see if anything was in, and if it wasn't, they'd leave. And I'd be like, there's there are 3,500 other titles in and you haven't seen them all. If you haven't seen it, it's new to you. And I kind of feel that way again, not to sound like a grumpy old man, but I feel that way about the the newer generations. Like my son will not see anything that predates his birth.
Oh wow, he's
You
missing
know,
a lot.
I often say that history began the day you were born with a lot of people, and that's
Yeah.
sad. I've always
It
had
is.
an appreciation for things that came before.
Me too.
You know, and of course, I grew up watching like The Wizard of Oz. Hell, that's 1939. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I mean, or It's a Wonderful Life. You know, old movies.
But
that
what
are
I
just-
liken it to, and this is what I this is like kind of the way I'm making myself see it, is that silent film and like early 30s film is
Mhm.
as removed from this generation
Yeah.
as like the radio halls and vaudeville are. I mean, I don't know anything about, radio hall theater. I don't know anything about vaudeville, and that only predates silent film by about what, 10 years, 20 years?
And yet, if I said Sammy Davis Jr., you would know who I'm talking about.
I would
And
know
he-
who you're talking about.
And
Yeah.
he did vaudeville starting at 4 years
Right.
old, dancing.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of
Well,
the
yeah.
entertainers, especially on 50s TV, and the actors and stuff, they came out of vaudeville. That's why
Little
they were
Sammy
so
Davis
talented.
Jr. had a great rendition of "You Rascal You," which I don't think you can
Mhm.
play because you'll probably get your channel struck because it's so incredibly racist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you
yeah.
have to put it's sort of disingenuous with the modern mind to put I try and put myself back to black and white TV or black and white movies or something. What was it like in 1914 as I'm watching this silent movie? And yes, I watched, I think one that shaped and formed probably movies more than anybody, or just about, he's got to be in the top three. Charlie Chaplin.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, yeah,
He
absolutely,
did,
yeah.
and a lot of people are like, who, Charlie, who? What? Look, man, the guy was a genius when it come to film. He made
was.
the modern film movement. He would spend years on one movie. He was an artiste.
Well,
you
yeah, and
know.
not just comedy. He was doing a lot of is it pathos? I don't know. how
Oh
you
yeah,
pronounce it.
exactly.
He was doing
yeah.
a lot of that. There, like in what is it, the Kid?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still Jackie Coogan that played in the Addams Family.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Years later, he was the first big child star, and that made him the best, the most paid actor in Hollywood. Growing up, as a kid actor, he was the highest paid actor of his time. But then that's his parents took the money and went to Congress, and now we got the Coogan Act protecting childhood actors from.
Yep.
You had to put a certain portion back for their education and their future.
Which is good because the parents were robbing those kids blind.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
Shirley Temple and then all the Little Rascals and everything.
And speaking of Little Rascals, I want to say that the actor and I've watched a lot of film, the actor who has had the greatest comic instincts, greatest comic timing of all time ever, and he had him when he was 3 years old, was Spanky McFarland.
Yeah.
That
Spanky.
kid understood timing at the age
Yeah.
of 3 better than most adults do today.
Yeah.
I agreed.
You bet.
I thought the one it's called Yum Yum Eat 'em Up. I don't know if it's called
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one with the cannibal.
Big old cannibal.
Yeah.
Racist, cannibal, racism.
I love that. They're gonna play that on TV.
Yeah.
love
I
the
love
Little
the one with the kite. She's got the money, and they put the
Mike
money
Walters.
on the kite string.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the Kites up in the air, and a
Yeah.
granny.
Speaking of
and
cannibals, I do need to plug my show. I'm doing with Peter Gilmore, Harry Talbot, 666, and CG Pete Callan. We do a Friday night show every week called Friday Night Frights, where we talk all things horror.
Yes.
And you made me think of it because this upcoming Friday's episode is Cannibals and the Cannibalized.
How about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yum yum eat 'em up.
Yum, eat 'em up.
So I know we're kind of skipping the track here, but I gotta ask you this:
Sure.
Is there going to be a sequel? Are you going to?
Yeah, actually, I just got the first piece of art for a sequel today.
Oh, cool.
Without revealing too much, I will say that it takes place in war-torn World War I Germany.
Oh,
Okay,
all right.
right. Yeah, you're hitting all the little, great things. I'm surprised it's not set in another Western.
Well, I'm going to take I don't want to say who I'm taking forward, but I'm going to take the character parentheses S end parentheses into the future. The second book will be World War I, and
Yeah.
the third book will take place at Woodstock.
Oh wow, So, wow, that's going to be a time romp. That's pretty neat
right?
because with my character, she's going to travel through time too.
Well,
My
with
character.
vampires, they don't have to travel that far because they
Yeah.
just go through like the rest of us do.
Mhm.
The
They just
experience
don't die. Yeah.
lasts forever.
What is the big allure to vampires, you think, for people?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think we're now becoming more aware, and we've always been aware, but we're becoming more aware of the seductive element to vampirism. There is a sexual component to it, to the dominance and submission, and to surrendering control,
And that kind of came in with
inviting
Bela
the evil
Lugosi, right?
in, and right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think that's where Dracula kind of hits all the marks, because a lot of vampire movies these days, it's all about eating to the vampire. It's all about food. There's nothing necessarily seductive or sexual about it. But that was Dracula's whole shtick. It wasn't just that he needed to eat. It was that he lived by draining your life. So it was more of a life exchange than food.
Have you seen the new movie Nosferatu yet?
I have. I was able to take my son to it, which was a real battle, because when he was 8, I tried him out on the original. I was like, he's 8 years old. It's a perfect time for silent film. And what 8-year-old kid can't wrap his head around vampires, right? And he hit me at the age of 8. He hit me so hard and said, "You lied to me. This isn't even a movie. It's just some guy flipping photos together." And I said, "That's what film is."
Yeah.
Mike Walters makes a good point. I grew up on this. I was like skirting back to the house after school to watch Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
Dan Curtis production. He later would do Night Stalker, which was awesome, and a couple.
That was my dad's favorite show. He loved Night Stalker.
I love Night Stalker. It's great.
Night Stalker was great. Only 20 episodes though.
But they still
Barnabas
talk about
Collins,
it today.
he did travel through time. There were several times. Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Brilliant stuff for the time. It was a gothic, and that adapts really well for comics. The sequential.
Yeah, it had the mood down pat.
Because there's always a cliffhanger, right? Now in crowdfunding, it almost has to be like one and done, unless can come out like on a bi-monthly basis or something, quarterly at least, right?
Yeah, quarterly.
Well, they're kind of like what's the author? The Harry Potter lady. They're kind of like her. Like, one of her books would come out a year or 18 months, although her books are so thick, it probably took you 18 months to read one of her books.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. J.K. Rowling. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I couldn't think of her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they do read like a soap opera, don't they?
They sure do. The thing I liked about that series, because I was kind of like looking down my nose at it, when it came out, it looked kind of cute and precious, and the Hufflepuffs and the Wiggle Worms and the whatever. But the series got considerably darker as it went on, and that's when it sort of caught my interest.
Oh yeah.
Now, I mean, before Bela Lugosi, I mentioned him earlier, did Dracula. Of course, he did him 10 years on stage before that, and they weren't the first.
Correct. I mean, that's what Dracula is. The 1931 movie is an adaptation of a stage play. That's why, to an audience today, it feels kind of stagey. It feels kind of like it's all happening, and they did a good job of opening it up, but it feels like it's taking place on a central stage.
Yeah. Nosferatu, though, was a different look. He was more rat-like, plague-like, with shadows. One of the creepiest silent movies ever made, really.
Oh, yeah.
Crap value.
Well, and the thing with the rats is kind of unique to Nosferatu. I'm not aware of any other Dracula rendition that do the rat angle. And part of that was because, I'm sorry.
He was kind of depicted as a plague, right?
Right, 100% a plague. And part of that was because the filmmakers couldn't get the rights from the Stoker estate. So
and in fact, the Stoker estate wanted a courthouse judgment to burn all the copies, yet some survived. So we still have that classic today.
Bad for them, good for us.
Yeah, good for us. Yeah, that there were a few.
I reread it again over Halloween last fall, Halloween 2024, and it's like poetry. I mean, it's not just a Dracula story. It is just it's like reading Christmas Carol. Just Dickens and Stoker's command of the language is just it's poetry.
This is my knockout punch to you, Tom. What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
I can say that pretty easily. The greatest horror movie of all time, and maybe the greatest movie of all time, is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. The one everybody hates because Michael Myers isn't in it.
I don't hate it. I love it.
That
4 more days
movie
to
is
Halloween.
pure
Halloween.
insanity.
4
And
more
it's
days to
glorious.
Halloween. Silver Shamrock.
That
Right.
song just drove me out the wall, man.
Yeah.
I could not
Yeah.
watch that movie.
I
Like, oh,
went to
God.
that movie theater to see. Either that or Creep Show was my first R-rated
Creep
movie.
Show is
Oh,
better.
Fright
nothing
Night's
to
a
them
good
both.
one. Fright Night's a good
Oh
one.
yeah.
Friday Night's great.
But
I like that one.
I do a great impersonation of the filmmakers making the pitch to John Carpenter. It goes like this. All right. Somebody steals Stonehenge, and they wait, and they make it into masks. They make all these masks, and the masks have like a secret button on the back. And if like either lightning hits the button or someone pushes a button on the computer, the buttons go off, and whoever's wearing the mask dies. And then their head turns into like snakes and spiders. And then every kid in America is going to be wearing this mask, and it's all done by a guy who thinks it's a good practical joke. And then Carpenter goes, "Yeah, all right."
Yeah, exactly.
That's the pitch.
John Carpenter is going to be on the Hollywood Walk of Fame now. He's got a star.
It's
good
about
time.
time.
Yeah. Well deserved and long overdue.
I think
I
long
agree.
overdue. I'm like, wow, are you waiting for the guy to die? What the hell?
No doubt, man.
I mean, who else has a body of? Some people love him, some people hate him, but who else has a body of work?
One of the drive-in movies.
Wes Craven, maybe.
One of the drive-in movies I remember. Yes, there were drive-ins, folks. There are some drive-in IMAXs still around, but and maybe some old drive-ins somewhere in America, Route 66 somewhere, maybe. But it was The Thing up on the. big
Carpenter's
screen
The
now.
Thing.
Perfect
movie.
Man.
It's a perfect movie.
Yeah. Well, great remake. I mean, really one that surpassed in a lot of ways the original with James Arnett. You know.
Don't tell Graham Nolan that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Graham thinks that the Mist is a good movie. Oh, God.
No, really?
Right concept, bad movie.
I mean, everyone can differ. The
the characterization, you know, the over religious woman that it's just the whole the characterization in the movie is and the fatal ending. I know it's different from the book.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like the way the story ends.
You're gonna kill the.
different.
You like the way the story ends? He kills his family and friends.
No, the story, not the movie. The story.
Yeah, the story.
In the story, they drive off into the unknown, and they're in a total like Lovecraft world.
Yeah.
It's not different season. What's that from? It's
the end of the movie was totally predictable. But now I love
they
Thomas
changed it
Jane.
to the in the movie they had the thing where it's the suicide, murder suicide, and then all of a sudden the mist just goes away.
The army will come over the 1 minute later, and they did. They came, you know.
It's meant to be like tragically ironic. Oh, if he'd only waited 1 more minute, but it just makes the whole thing like an unfortunate incident rather than a transformation.
I thought it was dour, fatalistic, and had bad characterization. I'm sorry. But now he loves it, and he's going, you know, and I'm telling him that in the chat, and he's like, I get it, Rex. I get it.
I liked the film adaptation until the ending. I did not care for it.
I didn't either. That was disturbing.
Well, I mean, you know, I've seen some good movies, and it has no ending. It's like they don't have a good ending. That you know ruins the whole movie for me. You know, I
like the Lord of the Rings with its 12 different endings.
Yeah,
it's
and one of the endings was the hobbits all frolicking on the bed together.
Yeah, well,
I was telling my son, earmuffs.
Right. I think the extended version is a lot more walking. There's 2 hours of more walking in the extended version.
Name a few more horror movies that you just really adore. I like the original Body Snatchers. I think that's and it had a great remake.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, just going by genre, with Universal, I like the big three. My thing with Universal is I like the movies. I like the 30s era best. The 40s era
the
with
pre-code
Wolfman
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fifth, I'm in the minority. A lot of people love Creature of the Black Lagoon. I mean, I like it. Look, even bad pizza is good, still good pizza.
Great design of the character,
right? Even a bad Universal horror movie, it's still good. But Creature is my least favorite among them. Among like 80s slasher genre, it would be. I'm in love with the Friday the 13th franchise. I've been to the camp twice. I've got my picture taken on the dock. I've watched the movie on the beach where the movie was shot, which was cool. They brought in like a big inflatable drive-in screen, and we all watched it on the beach.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I give Friday the 13th a nod over Halloween because I kind of respect the way Friday the 13th was made. I love the story that Cunningham was watching Halloween on the ABC Movie of the Week one night, and picked up the phone and called Victor Brooke Miller and said, "Dust off or put away whatever you're doing. We're going to rip off Halloween." I love that story, and that's exactly what they did, and it's fantastic.
Well, now you totally glossed over the 70s, and there was some great 70s.
I will never gloss over the 70s. The 70s is I say there are 3 decades of the 20th century where American creativity was at its best, where there were just no boundaries but the imagination. The 30s, the 70s, and the 90s.
Agreed.
So, not going to gloss over the 70s at all. You talked about Body Snatchers earlier. I'm in love with the 70s version. I think the 70s version is terrific from an effects point of view and from the paranoia. You know, the world is closing in on us. But, right.
Great ending. Great ending.
What's the lady that Donald Sutherland points at? I'm blanking on her name right now. Cartwright. I can't remember her first name, but Cartwright's her last name, right?
Angela
Wainwright. Angela Cartwright. Yeah. I got to meet her at an autograph show once, and we staged a photo of me going, and she's like, oh.
Yeah. Donald Sutherland, of course, doing that. Leonard Nimoy was in that movie.
Yeah, he was great in that movie.
And was Jeff Goldblum? Or
he was.
Jeff Goldblum, yeah.
Which would later go on to do The Fly.
Right. And those movies show how the same story can be an allegory for 2 totally different things, because obviously the original is an allegory for the Red Scare, and then the 70s that wouldn't have been relevant in the 70s or less relevant. So the 70s is all about sort of the self-help me generation and est and all those fads that were in the 70s. You know, I'm okay, you're okay.
Equal Rights Amendment, for
that's a total fad. Fad.
But now at one of the horror movies that I saw, we snuck in to watch it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original.
Oh yeah.
All implied. They don't show you the hammer hitting the hook. Your mind fills in the blanks, so it's horrific.
Again, speaking
Especially
of
at
autograph
13
shows,
years old, I was like, wow, what have I done to myself?
I can share that my son, who at the time would have been 6, maybe 7, at an autograph show had a full-blown 4-star meltdown right in front of Leatherface. I was like, buddy, you're embarrassing me in front of Leatherface.
Well, last year, we had Grandpa show up at a convention down there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
They kind of do a horror comic convention.
Well, the Hitchhiker is on Cameo now. If anyone wants to buy a cameo off of him, watch him cut his finger for the camera.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. That's almost like wrestling, where they cut their foreheads and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And Jerry Lawler's all a big scar up here, from so many wrestling matches.
I took my son to they did a local show, and some idiot. It was like a Royal Rumble, and they're tough to watch in real life because on TV the camera tells you where you should be looking, and in real life, like, you're missing all the action over here because for whatever reason you're dazzled by what's happening over here. So I wasn't looking, and some guy right in front of us bladed his forehead. And it happened right in front of us, and when he got socked, my son and I were doused in this guy's blood.
Oh, wow.
And I took my son to the bathroom after the show, and I'm cleaning him off and saying, I'm of the mind that if your mother lived her whole life, she doesn't need to know anything about what happened tonight.
Exactly. Yeah.
You do not need to tell your mother that you were just coated in possibly AIDS-infected human blood.
Exactly. I was going to say, whatever happened to HIV and AIDS?
Right.
You know,
Well,
that used to be
if
in the
that guy
news.
had it, we got it. So that's all.
Or maybe you get monkeypox. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Right.
Yeah. Gosh, there's, we talked about behind the scenes, so many great Westerns and TV shows. I mean, at one time there was like the top 20 shows of prime time were all Westerns, Tom,
It's
Yeah.
crazy,
on TV. I know that was a little bit before your time, and I was kind of like born in the middle of that in 65, first year Gen Xer, but, as they label us. But what was the most exciting things of the 70s for you, do you think?
Well, I was telling Apex because he asked me like what my favorite Western movies and TV shows were.
Shadow.
And I hate to say I was kind of a sheltered kid in that, my mom was kind of strict. So growing up, we watched the variety shows, Donnie and Marie, Captain and Tennille, the Brady Bunch Variety Hour with the much improved Jan. But we weren't allowed to watch like grown-up shows. So I missed out on that whole era of unbelievably great and huge selection.
You did, yeah, but now you can get that stuff on disc or streaming, like you said, Tubi. Tubi or Pluto or one of those,
Yeah.
Now, I did see the 1999 film version of this. Does that count?
No, not really.
I didn't think it did. I didn't think it did.
That sucked ass compared to this.
It sure did.
Yeah.
It sure did. And I like Kenneth Branagh so much. And what was he doing in that
movie? One of those shows that had animation at the beginning. Never sock a lady unless she deserves it.
Yeah.
Wiki Wild, Wiki Wild, Wiki Wild, Wiki Wild.
Well, I got to say that made my top. Right after Gunsmoke, which ran for 20 seasons. Wild Wild West has got to be on mine.
I want to watch it. My dad came in a room once where it was on, and without even looking at the TV, he just said, Jim and Artie will never let down.
Only ran 3 seasons, though. Only 3 seasons.
Wow.
3? I thought it was more than that. They had a black and white season. I remember, was it 65 to what?
Bonanza ran 16 seasons, but Gunsmoke has 20 seasons. 20.
God.
And I think we were getting weary by the early 70s. And Glenn Strange passed away. He's Frankenstein.
Yes. Glenn Strange, he was in Gunsmoke in the early seasons.
He was probably like, what, 6'5" or more? He was
6'5"
a great bad guy.
Yeah.
I think he was sort of like in the early 60s they did the Aurora model of Frankenstein, green and glow in the dark or whatever. I don't know if they went with glow in the dark right with the first model of that, but hugely popular. And then I think Stan Lee was approached and they said, we want a similar character, and they did the Hulk. And they, a lot of people say he was gray in that first issue, and that was a printing thing. It wasn't either. It was he was contacted by the higher ups and said, "Oh, make it more like the model, like the Frankenstein Glenn Strange model. He's green, so they made him green. That makes sense. He looks in those early Kirby stories very Frankensteinish.
Oh yeah.
Well, and it led to a really good idea for Peter David when he made the Gray Hulk psychologically distinct from the Green Hulk. And then, of course, even the Green Hulk had different, gradations, but making the Gray Hulk sort of its own individual persona. Yeah.
Joe Fixit.
Yeah.
Joe Fixit.
Were you a Marvel or a DC guy, Tom?
I was primarily a DC guy growing up with a little bit of Marvel. I had subscriptions to Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, and
Nice.
Those were like the real subscriptions when they came in your mailbox and they were folded in half to fit into the envelope. So like every comic I had from that era, there's like a big crease right down the center of it.
No!
But when I was going to the like the local bookstores or the like the local 7-Eleven, which is back in those days, we didn't have it. I had to go to Philadelphia to go to like a real comic shop. So 90% of what I had just came off the spinner rack at a 7-Eleven. But in those days, I was all Legion. I was all DC. I was a big Legion of Superheroes fan. That was my that was my jam.
Right? Yeah,
Keith Giffen, really great artist on that at the time. Early 80s.
The Giffen era is amazing. I came on like right around after they passed the 200 mark during the Mike Grell era.
Yeah, I like Dave Hunt on Legion. He's really
thank
good.
You, sir. Thank you, Shadowhawk.
Most people don't. Yeah, Shadowhawk's my co-host, by the way.
No,
over on my channel. He did a book review today, so maybe he'll back your book and review your book one of these.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah.
He's backed about 600 projects.
I'm looking for feedback, and I do welcome criticism.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Well, you'll get it here.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And then it'll take us to court. We'll be busted.
There you go. They were hurting my feelings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No one can take constructive criticism. We've got a bunch of marshmallows and snowflakes out there, Tom.
Dude.
I just want to say, man up. I go to the grocery store and I engage some of these young people, and they like it because they're not used to conversing. Most of the time, they like it. They're like, you're actually talking to me as a real person.
Well, and I firmly believe that art only belongs to the artist while it's in his head. As soon as you put it out there, your art belongs to the world. And when it comes to interpreting that art, the artist's view on what his work means, while informative, is not dispositive. I think once art is out there, it belongs to everyone who consumes it, and everyone gets to say what their take on it is.
He says he's already backed your book for me to keep up.
Yeah. Let's go.
Well, much obliged, sir.
Much obliged. Share it again.
I appreciate you, sir.
Absolutely. A huge
Tom Turtle.
Tom
Hey,
Turtle.
Herc 130 in the house. Hello.
Herc 130. How you doing?
We are talking to Tom Tuttle, author and writer of 7 Amens Before Sundown. Did you treat this as like a screenplay at first?
Kind of. I mean, I sketched it all out, and when I wrote it, I'm not a firm believer in like bogging the artist down with Eugene O'Neill like stage directions and setting. I mean, I set up where this is going to be, and then I put it in the hands of the artist, and Christian just everyone comments. Scroll down just a little bit to that when he first opens, when he first comes into that bar. Everyone talks about that shot as so beautiful because it's got this amazing, that one right there. It's got this amazing shadow, and there's all this detail going around in the background and the foreground. I mean, he created a total 3-dimensional landscape there.
And it's almost, I mean, it's iconic in the film, but of the guy coming in, everybody stopping what they're doing and looking at him, the stranger with no name type thing, but also the first appearance of Jonah Hex in the comics was like this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of that. What did you think about the Jonah Hex movie that they did with Bro? I mean, Gatling guns.
Yeah, I didn't think of it as a Jonah Hex movie, even though it was. It was a Josh Brolin Western movie that was loosely based on. I mean, I guess Brolin's ego is a little too strong to allow him to be disfigured. So he has like a little scratch. He has a little scratch on his cheek, not unlike Dr. Loomis after getting burned to death, and he came out of it with a little scratch on his cheek in Halloween 4.
There's so many great stories that could be told, especially with scarred, personalities like Dr. Doom. It would be awesome to see just the psychological thing with Doom's face destroyed. And, there's so many ways, Jonah Hex is a complex character that could be told in the movies very easily. He's coming out of as a Confederate soldier, so there's food for fodder right there. I mean,
well, that's why you kind of have to give a shout out to Ryan Reynolds. Talk about actors don't want to have scarred faces. And here's Ryan Reynolds, who's at the top of his career. I mean, the guy can pretty much pick and choose his own project, and he signs up for a franchise where he's going to be masked 99% of the time. And when the mask is off, you're going to be horribly disfigured. So much so that it's a plot point that people will get sick to their stomach looking at you.
I believe yesterday was Gary Oldman's birthday, and look how he was all scarred up on Hannibal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he went for it. He swung for the fences on that makeup and everything.
He vanishes in every role he does. I mean, he's almost unrecognizable.
That's true, but you know what? I mean, he's still sort of a living legend now. I mean, he's and he did a vampire movie, right? Bram Stoker's Dracula. How did you like that iteration?
I don't dislike it. It's trending now to dislike it, and I don't. I think visually it's a tour de force. I give it massive props for including characters that don't make it into a lot of renditions. Arthur Homewood and Quincy Morris rarely show up in film version, so it was nice to see this. The Coppola version really adhered pretty darn closely to the Stoker text. The one thing that it did kind of shoehorn in there that I thought, I mean, I understand it was like the central point of this rendition was the love story between Dracula and Mina that he sees in her,
like the Diary of a Vampire.
Love. Yeah, in the Stoker novel, he just wants to fuck. Can I say the F word?
Yeah, why
sure.
not?
He just wants to fuck with the good guys by taking one of their women. It's nothing more than he's pissed off at them, so he wants to do something to stick it back to him. That's the Stoker novel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, vampire movies are just legion out there.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. These days, that's my leading lady. That's Mary. That's my bounty hunter, my eye guy, my protagonist is a guy named Sawyer Bain, and that would be his lovely wife who has seen better days.
A great actor, Jack Palance, did.
Oh yeah, I just saw Palance's Dracula not too long ago.
Yeah.
He did.
Have you seen his '70s rendition of Jekyll and Hyde?
I don't think I have. Huh.
Oh God, you got to watch that. It's a made-for-TV movie.
I've seen a lot of Jekyll and Hyde. I don't think I've seen that.
Go watch it. It's because you mentioned
I'll
City Slickers.
I love the Spencer Tracy version. That's the gold standard.
Hello.
You mentioned City Slickers is probably one of your favorite movies for a Western, and you kind of defend it as a Western.
I think it's a Western in the sense that these guys are thrust into a Western thinking that they're going to be in a sort of play acting, dinner theater, pantomime Western, and then through circumstances beyond their control, it turns real. And so you see a lot of the Western tropes at play in this, Lowell Gans and Babalu Mandel comedy from 1991.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it garnered a sequel, which was, anything with Jack Palance. I love him in Barabbas. He's just maniacal in Barabbas. If you've never watched that 1962, I believe it was, where he
I don't think I've seen that either.
Oh man, or where was the one where he was in a chariot? Was it Ben-Hur?
It would have been, but he's not in Ben-Hur, is he?
Was it Ben-Hur or was it Spartacus?
I don't know. It's been years since I've seen.
Maybe it was Spartacus.
Now let me ask you a question. Can you do a Jack Palance?
Do I do a Jack Palance?
Can you do remember? You are my number one.
No. Yeah, he was the bad guy in Shane, another classic.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
1958.
Come back, Shane. Mama wants you.
Mama loves you.
Right.
Yeah.
Screw Dad.
She's
Shane,
married.
Mama
I'm out of
you.
here. Yeah, I love that. Now, give us
it or not.
Give us your 5 big movies that you're
crossing all genre.
Greatest Westerns of all time.
Oh, greatest Westerns. My greatest Westerns. What did I say? I said The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Head and shoulders above everything. Obviously, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
Big influence on this book.
Oh yeah.
I mean, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was the movie that made me realize that you can tell any story on this landscape. This is the Western is what the post-apocalyptic movie later became. It's a realm, a canvas where you can essentially rebuild society from scratch.
Yeah,
And you can do
Leone
anything.
actually, showed America that Westerns could be epic and great.
Oh yeah, and my favorite part of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is first I love the fact that it's this epic thing, this epic tale, this vast magnum opus about three guys who just want to get some money.
Yeah.
It's a very, very relatable motive. They heard there's some money somewhere and they want to get it, and they are willing to do anything to get it, up to and including. And I love this part when they get to the river and there's a war in the way. So the only thing they can do is move the war. So they literally move the war to the left so they can get across the river. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I'm surprised you didn't mention I'm getting ready to slapjaw you and choke you out. The musical score of this.
Oh my gosh, yes, yeah, absolutely, and not just the theme that everyone loves, but also the ecstasy of gold, the song they play when Tuco's running through the graveyard. And, I can't remember if this song has a name, but the music for the three-way gunfight,
absolutely,
amazing music.
Okay, so we got Good and the Bad and the Ugly. How about your other four on the list?
I said Rio Bravo would be number 2. This is where Graham and I differ because he doesn't like Rio Bravo. I love Rio Bravo.
Yeah,
I think Rio Bravo's better than The Searchers. No, I won't say that. Let me back up. The Searchers is a better film than Rio Bravo. I just like Rio Bravo better. I'll put it that way. I acknowledge The Searchers is the better film.
Okay.
And
Rio Bravo had Mitchum in there as long.
No, it was
James Caan, wasn't it?
Tony Curtis.
Tony Curtis. Okay. Yeah.
Not Tony Curtis. What am I saying? Dean Martin. I don't know what I'm blanking.
Dean Martin.
Okay.
Dean
Martin. Was it Dean Martin and Jimmy Stewart
and Ricky, the singer? What's that? Ricky.
Ricky Nelson.
Ricky Nelson. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting them crossed. So what's like?
And then my fourth slot, I'd give the nod to High Noon just because of the structure of that movie.
High Noon's great.
The ever ticking clock. Like the clock is almost a character in that movie. And then, like I said, rounding out the 5, I'll say City Slickers just because I don't know. I like City Slickers. It was cute.
Yeah. What makes The Searchers such a great classic John Wayne movie?
That's a good one.
Because it's unremittingly dark until the very end. Like right up until the very end of that movie, you're convinced that he's going to kill Natalie Wood.
Yeah.
And everybody is convinced he's going to kill Natalie Wood. And
he
is
a young Jeffrey Hunter in there with him.
Oh, sure.
As well. Yeah.
Yep.
Jeffrey Hunter was great.
Jeffrey Hunter was great as like the moral compass of that movie. Yeah, he's the one who's screaming, "You can't do this.
You don't. No,
right.
you won't. You take me down."
and it's astonishing because how do I want to say it? Like John Wayne does everything he can do to deconstruct that character and dismantle him and tear him down. You have no family. You have no one. And he breaks that character down all the way, almost like Louis Gossett does to Richard Gere in Officer and a Gentleman. And,
I'm gonna give you my top 5.
Give me your top 5.
But just off the top of my head, because this was like right before the show.
Not a scientific list.
Once Upon a Time in the West. I just watched it again recently.
Absolutely, Sergio
Leone. I agree with you. The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. Another Sergio movie. The spaghetti
Is
western.
that on your list?
Yes, that's on my list. Top 5 of all time. I've got to say Magnificent Seven.
Great
I've
movie.
got to. The King of Cool. So many great actors in that. Eli Wallach, and just a great adaptation of and I've got to say True Grit.
True Grit would be on my list.
Yeah.
If I had more than 5, True Grit would be on the list.
Yeah, and the only
Fill your hands, you son of a bitch.
I was there in 72, or I think it was 72 when they won the Academy Award. I was not actually physically there, but watching it, and I was so proud that he won his first Academy Award, and
Oscar,
his
yeah,
only
man.
one. It was
What's
pretty-
the
you know, you could
character-
argue the shootist. The shootist
Oh,
is so
sure.
good too.
What
That's
in
good.
True Grit? What's the character's name? That's the girl. Is that Maddie Walker? Does that sound right?
I think so. I think it was.
I've met Maddie
Mm-hmm.
Walker. She was at an autograph show too, and she was very, very nice. She was
And
there.
I've got to say now, some may disagree with me, but it's one of the most quotable. All I have to say is I'm your Huckleberry, and you know what I'm
I
talking
know what you
about,
mean.
you know.
Tombstone,
Yeah,
man.
but she
That's a great
voted
movie.
on the Frowner. Well,
That movie
bye.
was a lot of fun.
I mean, you know, I don't take no beef on no bartender. I mean, there's so
Right.
many great quotes that came out
Yeah.
of
Come, I'm
Tombstone.
coming, and hell's coming with me.
Yeah. Now, you know, runners up maybe like 310 to Yuma, the original with Glenn Ford, and another actor that was in Shane was in that movie. You know,
Right.
Vaughn. What was his name? Van Jones.
Robert Vaughn.
Ben
Robert
Johnson.
Vaughn.
Robert. Was it
Robert. Ben Johnson, I think. Ben Johnson.
I'll agree with you that I put my list together in a hurry too. So
Yeah.
as you keep naming films, I'm going to say, "Oh, I didn't think of that one."
Well,
Exactly.
now I know you didn't do now. Do you get into it to the degree that you like know Sam Peckinpah and Gene Roddenberry and all them? They wrote Gunsmoke and several episodes of that, and The Deputy. I don't know. Just
Hey,
Gene Roddenberry did a lot of westerns before.
I
he did.
have a familiarity with
Trek.
Peckinpah's work.
Oh, Peckinpah's
Yeah.
great.
The Wild Bunch.
Ride the High Country, another
Right.
great movie. You know one that I probably should put in my top 5 is Sam Peckinpah's. And I looked it up and I didn't write
Wild
it down.
Bunch?
Can you believe? What was the one I always forget with William Holden and Ernest Borgnine and Warren Oates and it
Isn't that the Wild Bunch?
The Wild Bunch. It's the Wild Bunch.
Yeah, the Wild Bunch. Come on now. I mean, is it safe to say that your comic is like
Right.
a spaghetti western more?
The comparison I would draw it's going to
Shot
have
Liverpool
very much
once.
the world
is.
of my book is very much the world of
Okay.
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay. Are they kind of made up sites or do you have like actual?
Oh, I made up Half a Rock Hill. I came up with that
Okay.
name myself.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
because
exist
I
on any
mean,
map because I made it up.
like John Ford, he'd go to Monument Valley
sure.
and a lot of these great sites, you know, to do the movies.
I didn't want to go for the accuracy route because my view was it's a work
Yeah.
of fiction. So this is
Yeah.
a world where vampires exist, and it's also a world with a town called Half a Rock Hill.
Yeah, I love Randolph Scott in Ride the High Country.
Whatever happened to Randolph Scott?
What
That's
happened to him? He died
That's
like
a
everybody
lyric
else.
that's a lyric to a song.
Oh, okay.
Whatever happened
Okay.
to Randolph Scott?
No, there you go.
I've
There you
heard
go.
of that. Yeah.
Now, if we're jumping to TV shows, I got to say Gunsmoke. It ran for, Matt Dillon, Ernest, James Arness. In one of the great sci-fi movies, Them, and then also was the creature in the original Thing.
Yes.
So he did some sci-fi in the 50s, but I love Them with the giant ants. Just that noise that sound.
Damn. Yeah.
I think the creature noises and things like that are like the psycho music, or like the Leone ending at The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, just so operatic and big. Things like that. The sound effects, as much as the visuals are just memorable for things. Wild Wild West with all sort of the James Bond gimmickry.
Right.
From everything I've heard, I haven't watched that, but from everything I've heard, it sounds like a very
You gotta watch
fun
it. Boom,
show.
boom, boom,
It's
boom,
great,
boom,
man.
boom, boom. That's the great thing about 60s TV, Tom, and 70s for that matter, and even bleeding into the 80s. They had great openers. You remembered the music.
They did.
If I go dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
Right.
that is the. I'm gonna say Hawaii Five-O is the second greatest TV theme song
or
of all
bum,
time.
bum, bum,
And the
bum,
first
bum,
one,
bum,
and I
Dragnet.
displayed it last Sunday on a stream I was on. The greatest TV theme song
Agreed.
of all time is Matt Houston.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that in years.
That song is never not playing on my internal soundtrack.
or if you get doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Mission
Mission
Impossible.
Impossible,
Yeah.
sure.
Mission Impossible. I mean,
Love it.
in just a few beats, exactly, what
Dollar
you're
Shipment.
listening to. And we don't get that today with TV shows.
No, we
I
don't.
think there's probably a big push to cut back or cut down or almost negate the entire idea of an opening, of opening credit.
Well, before we got
they just
started,
put the
we were
words,
talking a little bit.
at the bottom of the screen.
We were talking vaudeville. Man, those people either were talented or they starved to death back in the Depression.
That's right.
So, I mean, they had a great work ethic. A lot of them transitioned into TV and movies, and they were just talented, especially the musical writers.
Well, you had to be. You had to be able to do a little bit of everything.
You had to be, exactly.
Yeah.
And we just don't breed people. We don't.
Probably the heir to vaudeville would be Steve Martin, because he what is he? He can juggle. He can play the banjo. He's a playwright. He's a stand-up. He's an actor.
Well, you said it earlier, improv. You've got Steve Martin, great improvist. A lot of the Saturday Night Live people. Michael Richards from Fridays and from Kramer, one of the greatest improv people I think that's undersold. Of course, Mork. From Mork and Mindy, Robin Williams. He's probably the greatest improvist I've seen.
Now, Michael Richards probably shouldn't.
Flip Wilson was one.
He probably shouldn't ad-lib much, because when he goes off script, he can get himself in trouble.
Charlie Chaplin again. I mean, if you can do comedy, Mel Gibson. Yeah. He can do comedy. He can do anything. He's a great actor. He had a very skillful comedic touch in What Women Want. Exactly. That was a wonderful
good foil for him.
Yeah, and it was sort of akin to a Golden Age era type spoof. Like
it was. What Women Want felt very much like the kind of movie that like Cary Grant and Myrna Loy, or Cary Grant and Irene Dunn would have made back in the day.
Yeah. Wow. I haven't watched a lot of like Rawhide, but I like those. I like the Rifleman, growing up.
Rifleman, hell yeah.
Branded was good. The Deputy, the Texan, Wagon Train. I mean, there was so many Westerns. It's really hard to pick a top 5 for.
What was the name of the Western that Rick Dalton played in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? He was a Western TV star as well, but I remember
that was a good movie.
I have not seen that movie.
Yeah. Oh,
that was Tarantino, wasn't it?
How do you feel about the Manson murders?
Yeah, it's Tarantino. Yeah,
it's Tarantino. Yeah, it's basically the story of the Manson murders from a different perspective.
Okay,
all right. and a fictional world perspective, because
did you know that
spoilers,
one of the Manson women tried to assassinate Gerald Ford when he was in office?
Squeaky Fromm. Yeah. Squeaky Fromm, when I was in high school, Squeaky Fromm escaped from a prison that was local to me, because the search helicopter, I was out for a walk that night, and the search helicopter went right over me and like stopped for a second on me. So from a certain elevation, I look like Squeaky Fromm.
Yeah. Craziness, man. Of course, that whole mess cut Sharon Tate's career short. She might have,
and she would have been something.
She would have been like Raquel Welch, maybe.
Absolutely.
Big time. Wow.
And that's on display in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You get an idea for what a lovely person Sharon Tate was in real life.
Yeah, I need to watch that. I have not seen that.
It's a good movie. You'll love it.
It really is.
It's a good movie. Hell yeah. Plenty of action in it too. Good story.
And it demonstrates that there's one group of people that everyone in the audience can get behind something horrible happening to. It's the Manson family. No one has any problem with violence happening to the Manson family.
All right, top 5 actors that have done Westerns.
Well, obviously John Wayne, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, Chuck Connors.
Yeah. I will
James Garner.
Props to Kevin Costner's done some good work in the genre.
Yeah, he has. I thought of Dances with Wolves, and Silverado. I mean, he's definitely, and one with Robert Duvall was really good. What was that? With the Chinese prostitutes that were going across.
I'm blanking too.
Was it Open
Range?
No, Open Range. Yeah, that's a great Western. Great Western.
Lonesome Dove, by the way. The miniseries.
Lonesome Dove?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I love it.
Speaking
Oh,
of Western for TV, I've heard so
Lonesome
many
Dove,
great things about Deadwood, and I haven't had a chance
Deadwood's
to sit down and
good.
watch
You know,
it.
if you can get past all the cursing, it's F this, F that. Every
Oh, and I
other.
apologize for saying the
Yeah.
F word earlier.
No, that's fine. But I mean, you know, in that show, of course, that was done for HBO or Stars or something,
Sure.
and they were more liberal. Like everybody was cursed back then. I don't think that was the case, but I'm sure a lot of people did, you know, and chewed tobacco.
But probably
I
they
mean,
were
when
like
I was
curses
younger,
that would be like foreign to us. Like someone once said that every box of cereal sounds like a Mormon curse. So like you could imagine stubbing your toe and going, "Oh, honey bunches of oats."
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't really know a time unless you've lived through it, right?
That's right. That's right.
I mean, there'll be some that were born after 9/11 and they don't know what that, you know, they don't know the feeling of living through that. They'll
And
never
one thing
know.
I also want to say about eras, because I've been like kind of noticing this or for some time, that it takes about 5 years for the decade to crystallize and take its shape. So like the first couple years of a decade are this weird in between, like for example, the early 80s, like 81, 82, they're not quite 80s. The 80s didn't become the 80s till like, I'm going to say 86.
Yeah.
But it's also not quite the 70s. It's like this weird transition period between the 70s and the 80s. And that's, I think, true of every decade. Like the 60s, same thing. You know, the 60s, well, what you think of the 60s, well, that's like, you're thinking of 1968, you think of the 60s.
Yeah,
you know,
it bled over.
There were no hippies, there were beatniks. You know?
Yeah, it bled over like you still had like T-Rex, you know, bang a gong, get it on.
There was a period in the early 60s where we could have gone, you know, surf rock for the entire decade. You know, Frankie and Annette and the
Beach Boys,
American International movies.
Beach Boys,
that could have been the thing for the decade is surf rock. Good. And then you know the hippie movement came into play.
The Beatles, and I think the British invasion probably changed it.
Yeah,
a lot of that.
Medicine Woman. That's a decent western.
Yeah. I mean, you had the beatniks.
You look what we
early,
lost.
You had folk music. You had beatnik music in the early 60s.
That's what I'm saying. We, as a nation, we were at the crossroads. We could have gone the hippie way. We could have gone the beatnik way, and we chose the wrong way.
Well, we had to just drop acid.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Go ask Alice. You know, I mean, I love that type of era that we went through the psychedelic movement, though. I mean,
I like that. That's cool.
You know, I mean, it's. You know, what we were a nation with a purpose at that time, you know, and then also up to the 80s, we had the Cold War hanging over us.
Yeah, but imagine, I mean, I love psychedelic artwork too, and music as well, but imagine if rather than psychedelic, rather than protest music and protest art, imagine if we had bongos and poets, and goatees as our counterculture.
Yeah.
It was a whole different history.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How about Dr. Quinn, the Medicine Woman? Didn't watch a lot
there you
of
go.
that.
Hey, nothing wrong with Jane Seymour.
Yeah, she's easy on the eyes, by the way.
Absolutely.
At every age, she continues to get beauty. The older she gets, the more beautiful she gets.
Yeah. It's amazing. I loved her in Live and Let Die.
Absolutely. Domino.
Yeah.
And she was
not
also
Domino, Solitaire.
Wasn't she also in one of the Sinbad movies?
I don't know.
Or am I mistaken?
But that was Carolyn Monroe, wasn't it?
Maybe I'm thinking of Carolyn Monroe. Now she was a Bond girl.
I met Carolyn Monroe as well. She was in. It was one of the Roger Moore movies. I can't remember which one offhand.
So Tom, you met some famous people at conventions.
I've gone to a lot of autograph shows over the years.
Autograph shows. Cool. Now, should you ever meet your heroes?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. It depends on the context. I mean, if you're meeting them at an autograph show, you're probably pretty safe unless they're going to be a dick to you in line. I didn't think too much of Kathleen Turner when I met her. She was kind of just aloof. The one, I was a Babylon 5 fan, the one who played Delin. I wasn't crazy about her. I wasn't crazy about Michael Biehn from the Terminator when I met him. But for the most part, everyone's pretty cool at an autograph show.
Now, are you a sci-fi fan?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that there's any genre that I'm not a fan of. I mean, there's really good and also really crappy stuff in every genre.
All right, your
Right.
top
Yes, I
five
love science
musicals. I'm going to call you out on that. Top 5 musicals.
Oh, top 5 musicals? Yeah, I can do that. My Fair Lady, obviously. Then Guys and Dolls. I'm gonna say Fiddler on the Roof, which I didn't
Yeah.
like as a kid. But
Oklahoma.
the first time you
The Wiz.
the first time you see your son, who you remember bouncing on your knee, dressed up for the prom, you
Yeah.
go all Fiddler on the Roof. Where is the little boy I carried? So they're Fiddler, and that's 3. The other 2, oh gosh. I'll say Annie, and I'll just round it out with Little Shop.
What was the last one?
Little Shop
good.
of Horrors.
Little Shop of
Well,
Horrors.
Shop
That's
of
what I
Horrors,
thought,
yeah. Yeah.
You forgot the rock opera Flash Gordon with Queen.
Flash Gordon is terrific.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's Flash.
Absolutely terrific.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could look at that as a musical, but it certainly was.
If you want to count it as one, I'll say it's on
Yeah.
a rock
Okay.
opera, right? I mean,
Yeah.
really? Yeah.
like Tommy.
Tommy? Yeah.
Tommy? Oh, yeah.
And let me just say for the record,
Yeah.
there is no way, even in fiction, that a deaf, dumb, and blind kid can play a mean pinball. It's scientifically not
Impossible.
possible.
Right.
Right.
Now, can you get your son to sit down with you and watch some of these great long 3-hour movies with you?
3 hours is pushing it. He did do all the Bond movies.
Oh, good.
And what I was really surprised by.
I've got to be honest with you, Tom. If I ever get depressed, I put in a Bond movie because
Bond
that
will never
makes
let
you
you
feel
down.
like a man, like you can do anything.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
and what
I love
was
it.
really impressive to me about my kid was he was maybe 4. He came down to the living room on a Saturday morning, and I was watching From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
And From Russia with Love is probably the Bond movie least geared to capture a kid's imagination. There's no gadgets. There's no action sequences. It's just all Cold War stuff. It's all
Wasn't that
early
the one
60s
with the nude Russian though in it? You know,
Well,
where
that Robert Shaw was in it. Is that who you're talking about?
No.
No.
Oh
the
yeah,
blonde-
he was a
the
great
blonde chick.
assassin. Yeah, he was a
Yeah,
badass.
Yeah.
But
That
yeah,
was one of
my
his best
kid
roles.
loved From Russia with Love, and so it just became a thing. We've done all the we've done all the movies right up through No Time to Die.
Yeah,
Okay.
So,
yeah. Bond movies are awesome. I love them.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
the new ones not so much. You know, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Daniel Craig era was a bit hit or miss with me. I think Casino Royale was a good film.
Oh yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Quantum of Solace had good
Let
stuff in
die,
it, but I
yeah.
thought that was kind of a slog. And then they came back hard with Skyfall. Skyfall's great.
That was good.
And then Spectre and No Time to Die.
Oh, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Yeah, I mean Disney did some great musicals.
That's
Mary
a
Poppins.
living book, by
Mary
the way.
Poppins.
Mary Poppins, wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah. We grew up as kids watching those classic Disney stuff when Disney wasn't a smear, you know.
Well, when
right?
Disney wasn't a corporate giant, back when Disney was just sort of lame. You remember when Disney movies came out and they were like, we're not fanfares at all. They were like Unidentified Flying Oddball and the Apple Dumpling Gang. And they were just kind of
Cat
movies that
from
your
Outer
mom
Space.
knew about, but you didn't, you know.
Yeah.
Hey kids, come on, we're gonna go see the North Avenue or the North Avenue Irregulars.
Well, Jodie Foster grew up,
Yeah,
you know, and she did a lot of those. And then also Kurt Russell, you know, was in
Kurt
a
Russell's the
bunch
man.
of those.
Kurt
All the
Russell's the
Herbie
man in
movies,
everything.
Herbie Love Bug, come on.
Yep.
The computer with tennis shoes.
Yeah,
That's right.
the computer with
And he was the little jungle
the
boy.
Apple
in Gilligan's
Dumpling
Island.
Gang.
Yes.
Or the Apple Dumpling Gang rides again.
Yeah, those are tough. Those are
You
tough.
see me now, you don't.
You know, Walter Brennan, hey, it's a real McCoy boy. You know, he was in the first color movie ever made called The King of Jazz that was made in 1928. They spent $1 million to make that movie, and then the Depression hit.
I want to address something Fizz Pop just said. Yeah, the Music Man would be in my top 5 too. The Music Man is
Music
wonderful.
Yeah.
Is that
But now when you say Music Man, the actor that was in Music Man, I've got to say The Last Starfighter. That was his last role.
Yeah, Robert Preston was good in The Last Starfighter.
Yeah,
that's a good
absolutely.
movie.
That was a good movie. That's an underrated. 80s was such fun. You know,
80s were fun.
Once Reagan got rolling, you know, and get that old Carter era out. Like you
Right.
said, it started off slow.
We might see a resurgence of it. There's very much an early 1980 feel to the country right now.
I think so too. I have
Yeah.
that
The
feeling.
sense of
Do you
excitement
think
and the sense of
entrepreneur?
energy.
Hey, I think one thing that helps by the end of the year, if he gives us back like $6,000, that's going to be a major boost to the economy. I think.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I hope it
I
happens.
love
man.
it. I want
You
it.
bet.
We need it. Everybody
Yeah.
does. They got the
Hey.
Doge.
Hey,
Yeah.
I know when we were getting that pandemic money,
Yeah.
there, I was putting it into CG projects that, and buying their
Oh, sure.
product.
Us too.
I was
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to do my own project, I've got to show them that, I'm willing to buy into some of their stuff,
Absolutely.
And it's been some of the best product, I've rarely got burned on a campaign. So,
Yeah. Most
yeah.
of them are
it's a great model. It's making our dreams come true
Well, that's right. It creates opportunities.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
It does.
So how do you sell yourself, Tom? You're out of the middle of nowhere, and you've already topped my campaign. Congratulations, by the way.
I've been in the community since 2018. I've been active in the community since about 2020.
Yeah.
I've just kind of been everywhere. I've been, I watch a lot of live streams, so I pop up in a lot of chats.
I'm
active in in the community on Twitter. So I'm just sort of I'm a voice in the crowd, but I'm a loud voice in the crowd.
Well, what does your family think about that? This older man, around our age, you're 4 years younger than me, so you're in your mid 50s, and enjoy it while you can, because I'm getting ready to go into the 60s. Do you think you said things are kind of slow with the decade? Do you think it's the same thing with your life when you traverse into a new?
Well, I don't get a lot of. I don't like my family's not really plugged into my online life because my children are all grown and my wife and I split up. So my family's not all that. They're not hovering over me when I'm on Twitter.
Yeah, but they're aware of it, right?
Oh, sure. The kids, especially. I don't talk to my ex a whole lot about Comicsgate, but the kids are certainly aware because I always show up from campaigns with T-shirts for everybody.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Are they?
I've got 4 adult children and 4 grandkids. So the adult children are at the point where they don't really pay too much attention to dad's interests, and the grandkids are too young to even be aware of what it is. So I've kind of got carte blanche for a little while.
Did you pass on your love for comics to them, or try?
I tried with my son. I would always give him comics, like extras, and for a kid, you can get him stuff out of the bargain bin, and it's thrilling for him. It's comics that he can. It's weird the first time you watch your kid handle a comic, and you're cringing because he's handling it all poorly, and you have to remind yourself. It's his. It's not yours. It's his. It's not yours.
Yeah.
But it didn't really keep with him. So it's too bad. I mean, he has an awareness of the genre because, like everyone else in America, he goes to see the MCU movies.
Right.
But in terms of like the actual medium of comics, he's not into them.
I love that for decades, literally decades, Stan Lee was first in 1962. Cartoon stuff, and then the 67 Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and all these deals, and then the live action stuff of the 70s, like Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and the Doctor Strange thing in the 80s. And he just built up to it till he lived long enough to see and do cameos in all those movies. So it was great to see that pay off for him, he actually saw that Marvel was a success.
Speaking of the 70s live action Spider-Man, Nicholas Hammond has a cameo in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, he does.
As does Luke Perry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
I love those little Easter egg appearances.
Yeah. Nicholas Hammond's pretty unrecognizable. Like you kind of have to like check the credits and see who he is, and then watch the scene again.
The credits that are like about this long at the end.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Read the credits on IMDb.
Let's see, Korean, Chinese.
He's the director of the. Yeah. He's the director of the Western that they hire Rick Dalton for.
Did he?
And he's the one who's saying, "I'm not looking for a I'm not looking for a movie star. I'm looking for an actor. I think that's the way the speech goes.
Okay.
Well, one thing that really made an impact on me was the Sam Peckinpah quote, who did so many of those Gunsmoke and great westerns and The Getaway with Steve, just wonderful movies. But he said that 90% of a movie is casting, and I agree with that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If you've got the right principal actors, you can sometimes drive a movie with just a great concept.
Are you telling me that Beverly Hills Cop would not have been the same movie if Sharon Stone or Sylvester Stallone had been cast?
Oh my God, no,
They were considered for the role.
Yeah, make myself the case. Yeah.
And I think like Midnight Run with De Niro and Charles Grodin was originally supposed to be like Cher and Stallone or something. That would have been a different movie.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, so many great classic movies. Like Citizen Kane without Orson Welles,
right?
With somebody else in the role.
Or if they switched the brothers around, Fredo, Sonny, and Michael, and you had James Caan being Fredo, and John Cazale being Michael Corleone, and then I guess Cazale would have been Sonny.
In your opinion, what's the most frightening vampire movie ever made?
Oh gosh, you're gonna have to give me a second to think about that one.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this: I'm not going to say frightening movie, but I'm going to say frightening like shot. Going back to the 31 movie again, I think it's a very effective and very creepy image of Renfield on the ground, crawling slowly towards the right. Well, and Renfield at the bottom of the stairs in the ship's galley.
Yeah. Eating flies. Yeah.
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 I can pick out I can pick out effective images more than tell you which is the most.
What was the captain strapped to the wheel?
Only in silhouette, or we were talking about Nosferatu earlier. You can't take anything away from that image of him walking across the ship that he's just bled completely dry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, we just hit 4,700 on here. 4,715.
Oh, thank you very much. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you 100 times over. Thank you, Comic
You're close to 1,000%. That's one thing I wanted to ask you. Why the low minimum on the funding?
Because I knew I'm making the book no matter what. The book is I put a lot into the book out of pocket before even launching it. So by hook or by crook, whether I fund it or not, I was putting this book out.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hit a low number so there wouldn't be any question about.
And I think with first time books, you're going to be out some money.
That's right.
Unless you do it all yourself.
Yeah.
That's right.
And why fund my comic?
I'm a big fan of the site. I'm a big fan of Luke. I knew Luke before he launched this website because I was a backer of. Is it Hybrids? I'm trying to remember now.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a backer of his books.
So
yeah, I knew him. I'd always rather give money to someone I know as opposed to someone I don't. And so I don't know anyone at Indiegogo. I know Luke. I think what he's doing has a real value to the community because Indiegogo, as we've seen recently with Diesel, can always get temperamental and cancel your account. So it's important to patronize Fund My Comic and to make sure that we have a site like Fund My Comic because Luke is doing a real service to the community.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
We asked for our own site. Ethan talked about, maybe we'll put this together and everything. But Luke finally did it, and it's running strong, and he's always bettering the site. And if you have any problems, you can talk to him.
1,000,000% on that because I totally boomered. Like I don't know what you call it, your application for whatever you call it, the thing you fill out. I boomered the living crap out of that. I was like, "What's this do? How do I do this?" And Luke was always Johnny on the spot. Whenever I sent him a question, he would always have an answer for me right away. And 90% of it was just directing me to the button that I was missing.
Do you think, Tom, that I think a sinking ship lifts all tide? or whatever the term
I
is.
think that's the other way around.
Okay, whatever. But now Cecil's campaign, like 73,000. If he hits six figures, do you think that'll be that'll be a milestone, won't it?
Well, it absolutely would be. I think isn't he right now the highest funded comic ever on
absolutely.
Fun
I
My
think
Comics?
Rainey,
so.
Oh, he's already hit a milestone. Yeah.
I think Rainey did about 47, something like that, or maybe 37, something like that.
But obviously, yeah, getting Fun My Comics' first ever 6-figure campaign would be really something. It'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as you said, with the rising raises all boats, I think that kind of attention to the website can't help but raise the profile of other creators on the site.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, to put it in proper perspective about what I've done in a year, and had to add a lot more product to it. You've done, in like a week or so.
Yeah, it's been
amazing.
It's been really amazing to see. It's been something else. I could not have anticipated. Well, first, let me just say that the community was unbelievably helpful to me in the creation of the book, because everyone that I had any questions for, I was going into it kind of like what I just said with Luke. I was going into it from the perspective as a guy who's already boomered it up and needs to be told, okay, now what should I have done? Everyone was very helpful and very kind during that process. And then once we launched last week, I mean, the amount of buzz and the amount of attention I've gotten has just been. I tell the kids it's like being the hottest girl at a fraternity party. You're getting dance invitations from everywhere. It's
now.
fantastic.
Did you said you were primarily a DC Comics fan? Did you read like I, Vampire and some of those?
I did not read I, Vampire at the time. I've gone back and read back issues.
Okay.
But I did
of
not.
Course, like they got the Creature Commandos in trade paperback now, and
Swamp
books
Thing.
like that.
Morbius.
Yeah. Morbius in that Vampire Tales was my first Marvel character to actually read.
Man. It's a good one.
Because I started off as a horror person long before. My greatest movie of all time, I would have to say, just from a technical standpoint and what it did for movies, is King Kong, the original.
Oh yeah,
the original. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because when you got to Skull Island, that was, and I think still is, the most mysterious place.
Yeah, and they did a good job of building it up so that you already had a picture in your head of the island before the ship ever got there.
Oh yeah, the build up, and that's what's missing is build up, and that's one challenge I think that we have in crowdfunding is to do that build up, and yet release these things as kind of one and done things.
No, sure, okay.
Because we're kind of have to redefine, like I say, unless we're on like a quarterly, bi-weekly,
that's what I would say is the independent community and crowdfunding is not a parallel to Marvel and DC. We can't do what they do, and so we shouldn't even try. What we can do is kind of the J.K. Rowling method of put out one big project a year.
Yeah.
Or if you can manage to put out more power to you, but put out one big project a year and have it be something that would, will tide the audience over until the next installment. Because I don't know how on an independent basis we would ever be able to do monthly books.
You can't.
It's
a lot of work.
Well, if you had unlimited funds,
But again, none of us are backed by by Papa Disney, and none of us are backed by
the talent
AOL
pool.
Time Warner does DC.
The talent pool is only
Discovery,
so big.
Discovery Group.
They bought Time Warner. Yeah.
The talent pool is only so big out there, though.
It's true.
To draw from. I mean, matching up the right project with the right artist is that 90% casting. I think
really is.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and this book, mine, the casting was like a dream come true. I mean, I don't know that anyone would have done with this material what Christian Rossi did. He was the perfect artist for this book. Graham and Peter both nailed it with the covers. Graham's being the sort of right in your face, a 2x4 at the forehead, grindhouse. Bam! There it is, right?
Well,
and
I read
Peter
Graham's comment. that he doesn't break away and do many things, but this was too alluring for him not to break away.
This is the Graham story. I'll tell you. I don't like to tell tales out of school, but I think I can tell this because Graham more or less said it in his tweet.
Mhm.
I reached out to him and he said, "All right, make your pitch. Give me your pitch." And so I told him the story, and there was maybe a 5-minute pause, and he comes back, "I'm in." And I was like, perfect. So and then Peter's cover is very whimsical, very cheeky. This is a gunslinger versus a town of vampires, but above all, it's a love story.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's a wonderful looking cover. Now, are we only going with the one cover, or we got variants?
There's two. Yeah. There's the Graham cover for the Grindhouse edition, and then Peter Gilmore's cover is the Till Death Do Us Part edition.
Oh, yeah. Peter. Okay. Can we see Peter? Is that it there?
That's it right there. Yeah.
Okay, that's it there. Wow.
And that was a good pitch too, because I told Peter, all right, hear me out. I want you to do an homage to the 1974 buddy cop movie Freebie and the Beans, starring James Caan and Alan Arkin, because I think that translates very nice to this material. And look what he turned in. It's
That's
astounding.
Good.
Yeah.
That was a fun movie.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
very, very cinematic in the approach to the covers.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The credits and everything.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Where's pop culture going in the next 5 years, Tom?
I have no earthly idea.
Yeah.
Hopefully somewhere good.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Have you been disillusioned with the wokeism and the destroying of our?
I was. I think there's been a pendulum shift. I mean, I think something we all sort of instinctively knew at the time, but I think kind of forgot when we got caught up in it, is that there's a pendulum shift to everything. So when we were in the heart of in the eye of the hurricane, woke culture felt like it was here to stay, but there's a shift, and I think the pendulum swinging back.
Yeah,
it is. I agree. Let's go ahead and see this fun trailer.
I love this trailer. And when you watch it this time, listen for the metal clink on clink. That's my favorite part of the trailer, is when the two pieces of metal towards the end, just the clink. I love that sound effect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. What? No cowbell?
Yeah, better than cowbell.
Love the drums.
Me too.
Yeah.
Slow build up.
Yep.
Almost like an Indian chant.
Mm-hmm. That first guitar chord is good too.
Yeah, that twang, man. You know from that point where it's going.
Right.
I never can remember the title of the movie that took place in Alaska. Did you like
30
that?
Days of Night. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like that one?
I like that, and there's a hint of that influence in this book as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Now
it's very much like Unforgiven meets 30 Days of Night.
That one's kind of bloody. That's kind of a bloody massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say
what a great idea for a vampire story? Vampires in a place where the sun doesn't come out for 6 months.
Absolutely. Great.
It writes itself. What do you need, a roadmap?
Again, where one concept, I thought the concept for the Mist was a great concept, albeit not original, but it was a great concept. And I'm sure it was better than the book. Most people say, rarely do you say the movie was better than the book.
The Bridges of Madison County was better than the book.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few examples, but not very many, right? Usually the book, you can develop more and get,
I would say that's true with The Mist. If you haven't had a chance, it's in the Skeleton Crew collection, and if you get a chance to like pick it up on eBay or a yard sale or something, great short story.
Yeah.
I like short stories a lot because I think they're challenging to get your arc out there in 20 pages or less or whatever.
Well, I love Graham, but we do differ on some of the movies. Like he didn't like the Kong Godzilla battle movie,
okay.
but then I've been waiting decades for that. I mean, the old Toho just didn't do it for me. That's one of the worst movies they've ever made, I think, with Kong. But if not the worst. But it's a lot of fun. But I take my Kong seriously.
I can see that. You're a Kong. You're aficionado.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I love the Ray Harryhausen, stuff.
Oh yes.
That inspired him. And
I like
Ray
the 70s
Bradbury,
Kong version.
And Ray Bradbury as kids. If you've ever talked,
Twin Towers, right?
If they ever talked,
exactly.
they were childhood friends. Ray Harryhausen and Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
And they talk about how Kong, the first big monster movie, really affected their lives from then on, and so that's the power of cinema.
Yeah.
You want to hear my Dino De Laurentiis imitation?
Let's hear it. Let's see this.
Yes.
Okay.
Nobody cry when Jaws die. Nobody care when my Konga die. Everybody cry. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, he made some of the greatest movies. Barabbas was one that I mentioned. That was a De Laurentiis.
1962.
And in that movie, when Christ is up on the cross and there's an eclipse, they waited I think 4 months to capture. That's a real eclipse that they captured.
Barabbas? Who was it?
Barabbas. That was the one with Jack Palance in it. He plays Barabbas, the guy that they let go.
Christ?
Yes, you got to watch that movie, Barabbas. It may be even on YouTube. It's a great classic.
I'll look for
biblical style, the robe and Ben-Hur and all those epic, religious classics of the day. You got to watch Barabbas.
Now I watch every Easter season. The ones that I watch because my mom made us watch. I do Godspell and Jesus Christ Superstar every.
There you go.
Nice. Like I say, my mother's influence is still very much with me.
Yeah,
that's
now,
cool.
Were you a horror fan?
What
kind of DC stuff did you read?
Oh, DC. I was all superhero guys. I had like the hypnotic moth to a flame lure you have when you're 13 to like movies you're not allowed to see. So like my one friend was the first guy in our group to have HBO, so we all gravitated to his house because you could see nudity on your television. This was amazing,
Yeah.
So that's kind of what brought me to horror when I was 12. Say it again.
Animated Spawn.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That stuff's prevalent now, but I'm just trying to get a sense of what I would find in your comic book collection.
Right now, you would find almost exclusively Comicsgate stuff because I right around the beginning of the pandemic sold my entire collection. So I don't have. There were a couple of boxes because I sold it as a lump as one unit. So there were a couple of boxes the guy forgot to haul out that I still have. I haven't gone through them, but I mean I don't read mainstream books anymore. So.
Do you think mainstream can correct? Do you think they can correct?
Oh, sure, anything can correct. Sure, it's just gonna depend on leadership and management.
Yeah.
Do you? And I think you're seeing some of that because even during like the worst of the woke era, you were seeing great stuff like Three Jokers. I'm mostly Jeff John stuff. Three Jokers, Doomsday Clock. I did get the. I do try to keep like an eye out for the big events just because it's nice to keep track of what's happening in the sandbox, even though I'm not currently playing in the sandbox.
What character would you like to see Quentin Tarantino do?
If Quentin Tarantino were to do a DC superhero movie, I don't think there's anybody he could or should do. Well, and now I just thought of a second one. I was going to say if he's going to do a superhero movie, it should be Jack Knight, Starman from the.
That would be cool.
Yeah, That would be my pick. But as I was saying that, my back of my brain was screaming at me, "You idiot! Tarantino and Garth Ennis are a marriage made in heaven."
Yeah.
So Tarantino should do any Garth Ennis project would make a great Tarantino movie.
Let me go ahead and present. Since we're on the Western thing, I kind of want to share something with you guys here.
Okay.
Way back when, 1970. Remember Trinity?
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. We're gonna go through the slaps.
Oh, this is where we get it struck down. Got it.
Now, if we talk over it, doesn't that help shield it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, now that's some kind of new definition for slapstick.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, I don't remember that part of the movie.
Yeah.
The guy sitting playing cards, the overweight guy, he was in a lot of those Italian westerns.
Oh, sure.
He was a great actor.
You like to see that again? It's hard to catch the first time.
The great dubbing of the Italian westerns.
Oh, yeah.
Cut it out.
You're the guy, Bray.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what?
That's right.
The big thing for me was the gun blast. You know, boom! It was like a cannon in westerns. I wanted to before we got out of here. I wanted to share the trailer to my book.
Yeah.
We just hit $4,072 today.
Congratulations.
Katie did back the book finally. So 66 backers, 204% there. Let's give it a try, shall we?
Just show it. Yeah.
Shadow Hawk.
Yeah.
Only on Fun My Comic.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. That looks like quite a world you've created there. Like set it up for me.
It's a whole universe. Yeah. I mean, basically the linchpin being the Devil Flyer character basically makes a Faustian deal with the devil, if you will. And so he's not a free agent. And as he does good deeds, he has to basically, remove some firewalls that's going to lead to the end of the world. So he has to gather up other heroes from the universe to fight this grave evil. So that's there in a nutshell. And it's all told though in one and done like short stories. Some have a horror bent, a Western bent, a sci-fi bent, whatever.
That's cool.
I mean, all the genres across all time. Yeah.
So you can play across the whole palette of canvases.
Exactly right. And basically Pandora's box figuratively has been opened again. It's messed with the ley lines, with the electromagnetic part of the world, whatever. It's scrambled things again. You know, there's more chaos bleeding through to our world, and some heroes have to step up and stop it. Not just a superhero. It's kind of like a superhero anthology, but these characters, and we'll do a countdown. We'll do like 6 stories, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, till it just becomes his own title.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'll check it out. I checked out Apex's project on Monday.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, over there on Fun My Comic exclusively. That's the only way you're going to be able to get this.
There you go. One-stop shopping right at your fingertips, guys. You heard it here. Go to Fun My Comic and get some great books from us.
Right. I think some of the greatest projects are over on Fun My Comics right now.
I agree, man. Yeah. Let me go and get my Finbat on here. Show it off a little bit.
Incense and peppermint.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do, but I would copyright that sort of thing.
Music wise, what do you like, Tom? While we look at this,
I like Falco. I'm very into Austrian synth pop from the mid '80s.
okay. And Falco's greatest hit was
Rock Me Amadeus.
Rock Me.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, I loved it.
I'm an '80s guy. I think I have a theory that your musical taste kind of, I won't say stop, but they kind of freeze a little bit when you're 18. Whatever you liked when you're 18, you're gonna like for the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah. I listened to Def Leppard a lot.
There you go. There you go.
Def Leppard.
I'm a country boy. We have our Def Leppard over here.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you located, Tom?
Yeah, there we go.
You're on the East Coast.
I'm on the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Smoke them if you got them. It's the 60s. All over.
I love this. I love this.
Yeah, I think this is a trailer that helps sell the project. I really do.
Great trailer.
Now, one thing from the 80s, Tom, do
yeah.
you remember, and something I newly added to the campaign, Pogs, the Bog Pog here.
Okay, that's cool.
And the first backer of the big tier gets this. Of course, we've already got a backer, but that was pre me putting new stuff. And then they'll get a Geo Slammer. So this is the artwork.
Cool.
It's the original artwork that's going to be made into a slammer that everybody will get on that tier. So, and this is my latest that I did this morning.
what is that?
That kind of controls fire, and everybody gets free head sketch with their backing. And we're getting pretty close to getting a second one of these for everybody. You can already get one if you buy the big tier. You know.
Oh, great!
And we're going to make this artwork here, the Funko style Bog, into a metal card. It's a trading card.
Sweet!
Yeah.
That's cool.
Fun stuff. Bringing Pogs,
Hot diggity.
making Pogs great again.
I do remember Pogs.
Yeah.
Early '90s. I think Image did that too, right? Their little characters.
Yeah, and there was an Indiegogo that had some on recently. That was white and black, or black and white. What it was?
Black and white.
Black and white.
Oh,
by
Arts Project. Yeah.
He sold some of the old black and white Pogs from the '90s, starting his campaign now. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I'm producing Pogs today, brand new.
Oh,
Bog
brand new
Pogs.
Pogs.
Yeah,
How about
great.
that, guys? Well, where you got to go next, Tom? What's your?
I'm glad you asked, because that segues into something. I wanted to give a shout out to Len Lurks.
Okay.
I am boomering my way across the landscape, and
Nice.
I totally boomered tonight. In that I thought I was talking to one guy in my DMs, and I was talking to two separate guys.
Yeah. Oh no, you froze.
Looking to book me for tonight at 9. You and Len Lurks, and I right around like 7:30 this morning, I realized that they were two separate individuals with two separate shows. And Len was very gracious and very accommodating. We've rescheduled. I'm going to appear on Len Lurks Tuesday at 9. So everyone should turn over there, show that guy some love. He was a real gentleman at a time when I kind of created a snafu situation for everyone. And then I'm gonna be on Creature Commandos. I want to say it's at either April 8th or April 9th, whichever one of those two is the Wednesday. He's on Wednesday night, so I can't remember if I think that's the 9th.
Okay.
And then next Friday, following if I have my dates right, and I'm going from memory, so if I get something wrong, I apologize. But I think next Friday, after our own Friday Night Fright show, I'll be appearing back on Friday nights with a K, with Jason Sandberg. I can't talk. Jason Sandberg and why am I blanking? Mad Ruth. Those are the guys who hosted me on my first ever live stream back on Valentine's Day. So it'll be a nice homecoming to come back to them and say, "Look what Tommy did."
I blame Tommy. I'm on exactly. I blame Tommy. I know you're primarily a DC guy. I know we're getting ready to get out of here, but I got to show you one of my collectibles. That's how I kind of started showing collectibles. The smallest Marvel books they ever did. This is a Mighty Thor.
That is tiny.
That is tiny. You used to get these in gumball machines back in 1966.
Okay.
Can I open it? Oh, it's too small.
Oh, yeah. They open up. They're wax sealed on the sides. And you used to be able to get these in gumball machines.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And recently they've done a whole book volume of those that they're still kind of digest sized books, but they blow these little books up into whole stories so you can read them. Excellent. And then there's one book in the set that tells you the whole history about those small little books.
Oh, that's so cool.
And that's been out for the last 5 years or so. So go get that.
One of the coolest things I've ever seen. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got
a Marvel comic you can fit on your thumbnail.
No doubt. Yeah. If you sneeze,
you thumbnail on your thumbnail.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah. What's your holy grail in your collection, Tom? You think?
My holy grail, I don't think I have it anymore because I told you I got rid of it, a lot of stuff. But I was trying to build a complete run of that of adventure comics when the Legion was in it. I mean, obviously, 247 would have been a tough one to get.
Already. I love adventure comics. I think that was when DC canceled that the last 2 years. Where they were in digest form. Yeah. I love
the digest. Digests were great.
It was an anthology, and they canceled it. It could have been anything. Put a popular character in there, and right after at 503, after celebrating 500, one of the oldest titles, they canceled it.
How dumb is that?
Crazy. That's stupid.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But no, I loved Digest when I was a kid because I lived down the street from a strip mall, and so I remember shoveling yards to get money so I could walk across the street and buy comics. And when you're coming out of the bookstore in the cold, Digests were great because you could fit them in your coat pocket.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, good.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, good read. Here's one.
There you go.
The last one I got. The Gold Key. I didn't even know they made something like that. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, the Digest.
Yeah, little cool. Golden Comics Digest, but this is what you're talking about. These were some of the early ones.
Yeah, I had that. I still have that. I don't think that guy got my digests.
Yeah.
I have the Doom Patrol digest. That was pretty
cool. The Doom Patrol.
And the great thing, I learned a lot from the DC universe from these things because I didn't read a lot of DC books, and some of these go back to here's a Bizarro story that's at least 60s, maybe 50s.
Sure.
So I really caught up on the DC universe through this little bitty library.
All right. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I love Digest.
Yeah, I did a mini comic here. This is a black and white version of Madam X. But it's you can fold it out, trading card size, cool. 32 pages. I have like a 2 comic tier with that. So yeah, it's all big adventure.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I like comics that are in different formats, like the little digest. And remember the big tabloids they had in the 80s, like Superman versus Wonder Woman or Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
The Treasury.
Treasury edition.
Yeah, that's fun.
Let's make comics great again. What do you think, guys?
I agree.
It's a good idea.
Dollar size adventure comics packed full.
Little promo comics they used to come out with,
Oh, that's awesome.
What is that? Oh my God!
Well, little snack cake. You get these in Drake's snack cakes.
Wow, really?
Yeah. How about
you can actually open it up and read it and all that.
Oh yeah.
And remember, kids, if you're ever trying to fight a themed costumed villain, costume villains cannot resist Hostess cupcakes.
Look at that.
Oh, of course. You got the Secret of the Swamp thing. Oh, we got a
that's great.
digest.
Bernie writes in the
Now-
first 10 issues and sort of like a little digest.
Alan
size.
Moore's Swamp Thing was my jam when I was a
It was
teenager.
Oh yeah,
good.
with all the detail.
I was
and
15 when the anatomy lesson came out, and that blew my mind. Blew my mind.
Yeah.
And the American Gothic saga, the one that ended with the war in heaven.
stuff. I don't know about you,
Oh,
but
that was
comics
amazing.
made me a reader, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I needed that visual stimulation, but
Mhm.
Same
uh,
here. Words and pictures.
I mean, now that the spinner racks are gone, children just can't stumble in. Do you think, by and large, they're even readers nowadays, or if they are, it's probably manga, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're not going to a specialty shop, I guess the only place a kid would encounter comics would be a Walmart. I know they're
or
running
Barnes and
stuff
Noble.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this is the new DC stand. They've been putting them out in DC at Dollar Trees. So
Okay.
look for these. They're reprinting the
Got
old 52 and new 52 stuff and the rebirth
dollar.
stuff from
Okay.
2011, 2016, and 17.
Really?
awesome.
There's even Ethan Van Sciver Green Lantern cover.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
That was a great Green Lantern run.
That was Sinestro War. That was really
Oh,
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I remember-
and you might even find a Hot Wheels stand. I was looking for another one of these stands at the other store and found the
Yeah,
Hot Wheels stand before
you
they
did.
built it up. It's like,
Yeah, got
and
it.
what was wild is right down in this slot here had one car and it was a Batmobile. And I said, well, I'll take the stand and the car to justify taking out the stand, right? Usually, I guess they got stopped, they hang these things up and then they bail up the Hot Wheels stand. That's the first one I've gotten in a while. The car in it, though, was 2011 Batmobile.
Oh,
already
cool.
old. Loved it.
That's great.
How wild
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah,
That's
cool.
very wild.
Did you ever collect? I got to ask you, last question, at least for me. Did you collect Pez?
My sister loves Pez dispensers. It was not something I collected, but she's got like a whole whatever
I've got
those things
thousands,
women have.
so-
I think it's called a hutch. It's like that thing with
yeah.
she's got a hutch with all her Pez dispensers in it.
That's cool. Yeah, they've been popular. Been doing character heads.
My
since
ex had
19
she had 3 different things in our living room that all looked completely different, and they were all the hutch.
Really?
Go get that thing. It's on the hutch, and I'd be like looking for it. She's like, no, not the hutch, the hutch. Everything was a hutch.
Fizz Pop says the dollar size adventure comics are packed full of great fun.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
JSA
It's something,
and
man.
other stories in there. Yeah.
So
if I
good.
was Quentin Tarantino, it would be like The Creeper as a movie.
Creeper would be great.
Yeah.
I'd love to
Yeah.
see that.
Old Steve Ditko character.
Oh yeah, man.
Tom, thanks. It's up to my host to say thank you for coming on, but for me,
Thank you for
as
coming
co-host,
on, man.
thank you for coming
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
I had a lot of fun tonight.
It's a big treat.
Well, that's
All
that's
right.
what we strive for. We tried for the dour and depressing interview, but it never worked for us. So we
I
went
can
to
bring
fun.
the gloom. Ennui.
You're the guy on the subway I never want to meet.
No, you don't want to meet me on the subway. Avoid me on the subway.
Yeah.
man.
Hypertension, road rage, or choke you.
I have been a practitioner of road rage.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
I
What
don't
are
care
you
for
doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Do something resembling anything.
My road rage, I revert to Magneto, where I just pick up the car and throw it off the road.
There
You go.
In
That's
my mind,
perfect.
if I could
Yeah.
just crush you and
I
then
thought you
throw
meant in real
off
life.
the
I
road.
was like gonna
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
behind
lift that
you and
car in
stuff.
the air. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. If I could
hot
just,
damn, I
I
finally
wish
get
for
to chase Devil
magnetism.
Flyer.
God, give me magnetism.
Oh man, what a show, guys! Thanks, Tom,
Yeah.
for coming on, man. You're a
Thank
treat.
you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me on. It was great.
We
Yeah.
broke 4,700 for you, at least. That's good.
Oh,
All the way
fabulous.
to
Thank you to
5K.
everyone.
Yes.
Thank you to everyone. Let me do my pitches. Everyone, get the Fun My Comic. Check out 7 A.M. Before Sundown. I have put together a whale of a tale to tell you guys. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And make sure you tune in on Fridays at 7 Eastern Standard Time for Friday Night Frights, only on Peter Gilmore's channel.
Excellent. It's a great
Yeah.
show. It's
Yeah.
it's
It's a lot of fun.
burning up, but the ratings are getting big.
We did werewolves last night, and then next
Yeah.
week is our cannibals episode. So
Oh
you know, really give you something to sink your teeth into.
Have you watched Seth and Jetty? He's been doing some like public
Yes,
domain.
he has.
Great
You know,
stuff,
silent
yeah.
movies.
Channel. Yeah.
The Cabinet of Dr. Cachet with Conrad Veidt. You know, that's going way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang, wait a long time.
Yeah.
All right. Keep collecting. We'll see you guys on the next video. Ciao for now.
For now.
Take care.